We're now just over a month away from the 3.0 update dropping, and it's gotten me thinking about some of the secret things hidden within the long reveal trailer. Now, I'm not talking bulk crafting or the new terraforming features, we all know about that by now. Instead, I've been looking for some things that I've seen barely anyone talking about, and all of them make me more excited for this update to arrive. It's honestly really surprising to me how many hidden features and secrets they managed to pack into this one trailer. And it shows that the 3.0 update is even bigger than a lot of people might realize. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into some of those secrets that you might have missed within the trailer. Leave a like on the video if you're ready to learn more stuff about the 3.0 update in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and let's jump into this. So we know that Cappen's family is making a full return to work in the hotel, just like they worked on Tortimer's Island back in Animal Crossing New Leaf. And although the two places are different, Nintendo has actually made the connection in a way you might not realize. Now, I'll admit I didn't know this for the longest time because shamelessly I wasn't really paying attention to this, but I was finally starting to listen to some of the brand new music we're getting within the update, and of course the hotel is getting some new music too. And I was listening to the track and it sounded incredibly familiar to me, and I realized exactly where it comes from. Take a listen to these two pieces of music side by side. The first is the new hotel music from the 3.0 update, and the second is Tortimer's Island from Animal Crossing New Leaf.
Run by Grams. Here, you can find all sorts.
So as you might have noticed, the new hotel music is basically a callback to Tortimer's Island, which of course makes perfect sense given the return of these characters and kind of the similar vibes. In fact, the whole thing seems to have been inspired by Tortimer's Island given the fact we've got Graham selling those special items, which whilst I am sad that it doesn't include the mini games that we had back in New Leaf, I do think it's really cool they decided to make a callback to the absolutely beloved Tortimer's Island in Animal Crossing New Leaf. And it makes you realize that when you talk to Kappen, Grams, Leela, and Leilani, you're probably going to get lots of other callbacks in their dialogue to Tortimer's Island too, which I'm really looking forward to. Also, the fact that Nintendo has acknowledged Tortimer's Island in this way makes me really hopeful that they are going to go all in with the mini-games in the next Animal Crossing. I think this really does show that whilst they aren't deciding to add it here so late into the game's lifespan, they probably are thinking about something like this for the next game. The music can definitely go pretty underappreciated in Animal Crossing, so I just find this really cool. Something else that is returning from Animal Crossing New Leaf is the megaphone item, and of course, this is one thing that is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game. And whilst this might just seem like a basic way to call your villagers, this new item is actually packed full of all kinds of interesting hidden details and secrets. For a start, as far as we know, it would be the only item that is exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2. However, it's incredibly likely that they will just make it so that you can still purchase it on your regular Nintendo Switch, you just won't be able to use the functionality of the microphone. If that isn't the case, then they would have had to introduce some new coding where you basically can't see it on the Nintendo Switch. Which I don't think they'll do since we already have other megaphone items in the game that you can use just to get a little shouting animation, so that's probably exactly what it'll do on the regular Switch. I did really like the idea some people have been sharing where on the original Switch you could have just used it to bring up a pop-up menu, kind of like the tool ring where you maybe could select the villager you want to call out for, but sadly that's not what they decided to do with this item, and they brought it back to the exact same functionality it had back in Animal Crossing New Leaf. What a lot of people might not realize is the megaphone can do something a lot more exciting than just calling out your villagers. It can actually call out special NPCs who are wandering around, which honestly I think is so great because now we'll finally have an incredibly easy way to find Celeste around the island. Previously, there were certain ways you could find her, like checking in the roost or doing group stretching, but this will be a lot easier if you are on Nintendo Switch 2. It'll also be a great way of locating characters like Flick and CJ who wander around, Wisp, and various other characters who can be kind of tricky to locate, especially if you have a heavily designed island. So this feature has me incredibly excited. It's also worth noting that with the megaphone feature, it can be used to directly wake up Gulliver, which is really funny. And of course this makes a lot of sense, so that's another cool little addition which should help you around the island. Currently, you can wake him up by talking to him, and some people might not know that you can wake him up with a net, so I really love that there's going to be another way to get Gulliver up around the island. I feel like people take a lot of joy in annoying Gulliver, and that's kind of a hilarious thing that will continue with this new update. Another really cool detail with the megaphone that you might not know is different villagers will actually have different reactions to it, so they won't all say the same thing or react the same when you use it. In fact, in Animal Crossing New Leaf, villagers would even act upset or shocked if you decided to use the megaphone really close to them, because of course you're literally shouting in their ears. Different personality types would react differently with this item, which I think is really fun, so it just adds a little bit more depth to your villagers, which I think is a good idea and something this game definitely needs more of. Definitely lots of love for Animal Crossing New Leaf within this update. That's a trend that I'm noticing. Now, going back to the hotel, did you know that the hotel actually has a progression system similar to Happy Home Paradise? Now, I don't want to bring on the Happy Home Paradise comparisons too much because I do think the hotel actually stands on its own right. In fact, I think it's more similar to the campsite on our islands than the hotel, given all of the villager functionality. But of course, the comparisons can't be denied, and a big part of this is the same sort of progression style feature, where it seems like the more rooms you design in the hotel, the more you'll be able to unlock different features and functionality. For example, we know for a fact that at the very start of the game when you unlock the hotel, the amiibo scanner to bring in special characters will not be available. This is something that is unlocked later on. In the trailer, the character already has 1,800 currency, which could suggest that you've got to design a fair amount of rooms before you unlock this, which is kind of similar to what they did in Happy Home Paradise. There were many different features that you had to unlock by designing more homes. Of course, in this case, you'll be designing different rooms. And I'm sure there will be other functionality you can unlock when you design more rooms as well, we just don't know exactly what that is yet. It seems like another thing you unlock later on would be Graham's stash of secret Nintendo items, although the narrator in the trailer does hint that this might also be done through increasing your island brand reputation by sending things off with Cap'n. So it does make me wonder if it won't just be designing rooms like you design homes in Happy Home Paradise, but it'll also be sending off stuff with Cap'n and doing enough of that so that you can unlock more features too. So it seems like this hotel actually has a lot of progression to it, which I think people should be pretty happy about. After all, that is something that personally I feel like New Horizons is really missing. With a lack of shop upgrades and such, it'll be great that at least you can make a lot of progress with the hotel and you don't just unlock everything straight away. After all, there's no denying that when new updates drop for Animal Crossing, a lot of us rush through it really quickly and then get bored, and I'm guilty of doing that too. It's natural to want to do that when something comes out, so I'm glad that we'll be able to take our time with the hotel and it won't just all be available right away. I think that'd be kind of boring. Now, another special feature in the hotel that I've seen a few people confused about, so I have seen some discussions about this, but no one seems to realize what it actually is the little rooms feature at the very end of the trailer. Now, they very briefly showed this off, and it seems like a lot of people are confused about what the secondary room icon is supposed to be. So as you can see, you can flip between left and right, go between standard or a more special looking type of room. We only see standard in the trailer, which features 8 different rooms filled with villagers. But what exactly is in those special rooms? Well, whilst not directly confirmed yet, to me this indicates this will be the section for special characters. Now of course we know we can design rooms for special NPCs by inviting them with amiibo, just like we can in Happy Home Paradise. So I'm guessing that is what this section will be. It won't be something you have right away, but once you've unlocked that functionality and you can get special character rooms designed, you will be able to visit them via that tab. It totally makes sense to me that the special characters would have their own section, and that does technically mean that we should be able to have a total of 16 different characters living in the hotel, which is really neat. Although who knows, the amount of rooms might even expand in the future, we really have no idea yet. This does also mean that since these villagers can actually wander around your island, we're technically going from being able to see 10 villagers on our island all the way up to 18, which is crazy. Now, of course, these tourists won't act exactly the same as your actual villagers do, but they will still do some of the really cool stuff like interact with your items, they'll have their own special dialogue and such, so if you wanted your island to feel a bit more lively, this could be a great way of doing so. I do kind of wonder if Nintendo might actually allow us to turn off the ability for these tourists to just wander around freely, because I know some people have special island themes which their villages all kind of match up with, so you might not want these random characters wandering around. Although if you are worried about this as a big island designer, I'm fairly confident these tourists won't wander around in dream islands and such, so if you're worried about them kind of messing that aesthetic up a little bit, I don't really think that's going to happen. Barely any of our villagers seem to wander around in dreams, let alone a bunch of tourists. I think that would be too much sort of data for the game to consider and such, given it's ever changing, so yeah, it's most likely that won't be the case. So I really hope you learned something new within this video. I certainly did making it. It really does make me so much more excited to learn. There's just so many hidden details within the update, especially so many different things that we don't know yet or have the answers to, which I think is really exciting. Honestly, the wait for this update feels like it has been forever, but I'm just more and more excited as each day goes on. I can't wait to play it. Let me know any secret or hidden things that you noticed within the trailer that you would like to talk about down in the comment section. And if you made it to the end, be sure to comment Bob's Gang as well so I know that you did. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe and turn on notifications for more Animal Crossing videos. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my channel members. If you want to help support my content and get rewarded for doing so, consider clicking the join button below or the link in the description to become a channel member.